So suddenly, it all makes sense. Tom Cruise has signed a deal with Warner Brothers to develop original and franchise movies, which he'll star in. He will get an office on the Warner Brother lot with his production company. His production company. All right, guys, I am back with a brand new DC update. Wow. Do you guys remember when The Flash came out? Do you remember all of the praise that came from people like Tom Cruise and also Stephen King? Do you know what's going on at Warner Brothers? Stephen King's It is going to be a series on HBO Max. I can't remember the name of it. It has to do with the city that it takes place in. Okay, that makes sense. And now all of a sudden, Tom Cruise signs a deal with Warner Brothers for new movies and to have his own studio down there at Warner Brothers. Who was doing the butt kissing? Yeah. See, everything that you hear, I told you guys back when The Flash came out, it was all propaganda. And it was propaganda. You can actually go and actually look at my thumbnails from back when The Flash came out, and you'll see one where I specifically talk about it being pure propaganda. And that's what we have here. All of this was to suck up to the studio so he can get his way. And, you know, at first I was shocked that anybody would want to go and work for Warner Brothers. But I guarantee you, this is going to be another situation like when they got Christopher Nolan to do the Dark Knight trilogy, where he's got an ironclad contract that states his studio cannot interfere with his stuff. And they wanted him because he came off, not because of Mission Impossible. He's got one more movie in the Mission Impossible franchise, and he actually wants to do more. So I'm wondering how exclusive this deal is. But he's coming off of the biggest movie of his career outside of Mission Impossible, which was Top Gun Maverick. Of course they want him. Now, I haven't looked to see what this has done to their stock, but their stock was, right around $10 or $11. I doubt that this has moved the needle too much. Tom Cruise is a big name and may help them to some degree, but we'll see. All right, so let's look at the other DC news. That was the big news that came out today, and I will be talking about that in my TV show and movie update also. But let's take a look at the other DC news that I have grabbed over the last 24 hours. So I had numerous people send this to me the other day, and this was something that James Gunn had posted. And this was he labeled this as, "Dear Algorithm, in 2024, please show me comic books, Superman, movies, music, glam metal, indie rock, cheeses, animals, especially dogs, and crows." I don't know, and rhinos and platypuses, pop surrealist art, Peacemaker, Creature Commandos, Foxy Shazam. What the heck does that even mean? Batmite. Yeah, I think we're going to break that fourth wall in Peacemaker. You remember how, now this is kind of funny, that he's all of a sudden halfway through writing Peacemaker, and we're going to see something else that's going to be talked about here in regards to the DCU in a few minutes that might tie a few things together. He said TV, writing, directing, literature, let's go, Threads. So he obviously did this on Threads. And I don't know how they can get it away, looking just like Twitter, but they get away with it. Now, I saw this posted by Our Movie News, and I figured I would run through this because this is very telling on exactly who James Gunn is and why I don't want him doing DC. Someone asked him, how do you ride that line without going too far in one direction or the other? He said, I love superheroes. I also think they are the dumbest things that have ever existed. I have no happier times in my life than lying in my bed when I was 12 and reading comic books. I don't think life got much better than that. And yet the fact that we take these things seriously as adults is ridiculous. Because people really would look at you like they look at Peacemaker when he walks into fennel fields wearing a costume. What's wrong with you? You think that's cool? You're a maniac. These are his words. And this is recent. He's talking about Peacemaker, okay? He goes on to say, the idea that superheroes are maniacs is something I like very much. Guardians is much different because it's really a science fiction story, a science fantasy story. There's no superheroes. They're not wearing masks, which is one of the reasons I think I had an easier time working my way into it. But in the Suicide Squad, you got guys wearing yellow costumes and all this stuff. I decided to go for what it would really be like. Treating these people like gods is like, what? Think about that. Think about that. We had Zack Snyder, we had James Wan, we had Patty Jenkins dealing with these superheroes. And here's the thing, and this is why I don't think James Gunn understands DC. Marvel are not real superheroes or gods outside of Thor. Okay? Everything in DC, these characters are like gods. You have Green Lantern Corps, that's all takes place in outer space, and these guys are ridiculously powerful. You have Superman coming from another planet with superpowers. You have Wonder Woman, who's she really is a god. And you have Batman, who's kind of a self-made, he's a self-made superhero. But these guys have to hide who they are so that their personal lives are not ruined. Everything in Marvel, everybody pretty much knows who everybody is. And he admits here that he took on and had an easy time with the Guardians because they weren't really superheroes in any way, shape, or form. And now he's saying that he thinks of superheroes as silly. Like he said at the beginning, that they're maniacs. That they're the silliest things, the dumbest things that ever existed. These are his words. So he goes on to say, treating these people like they're gods is like, what? I have a hard time imagining a guy who's really serious and wants revenge making a costume for himself and putting black around his eyes so his skin doesn't show when you look at him in the face. He's got a mask on and also the eye makeup under it. There's a silliness to it that I can't deny. Not because it's making fun, but because it seems to me that the silliness is what is real. Guys, listen to his words. This is the guy who's in charge of DC. How did he get that job? How? I'd heard little snippets of this, but I've never seen this. This alone should have excluded him from even being a thought, even a candidate for taking over the job of DC. Like, what the crap? On another note, David Ayer, and we're going to talk about David Ayer a little bit later. He's been very active and is still active on social media. Variety had picked up that David Ayer has come out and said, would love a one-off funeral screening for his Suicide Squad cut. I made an amazing film that got taken away. And he's asking for that. And we're going to see that one of his stars is actually backing him up and actually wants to see it as well. Well, if they get to see it, I think the rest of the world should be able to see it too. That's just a quick picture of some stuff I took out of storage. It's going to go in my theater room. I've already got my Batman statue. I'm not sure what I did with the Batarang, but that's from Batman Forever. I've had that statue for a long time. I really like that one. It's pretty cool looking. And then that's the Star Wars trilogy, the last time it was released without being kind of messed up in widescreen on VHS tape. It's in a nice slipcase. So I'm adding those to my theater room. So people have been wondering, Joe Manganiello had posted this Lego figure on his profile. And I don't really think this means anything, guys. I think it's just because he enjoyed being Deathstroke. I don't think this means anything for the DCU. Again, I think it would be stupid how they would be keeping some of the people, but not the people that the fans really wanted. And it says, is Joe Manganiello hinting a return as Deathstroke? Do you want to see him reprise his role as Slade Wilson in the DCU? My take on this is no. I think, with what they're doing, I don't like how they're piecing some of it together and not others. I would rather see just a complete reboot than what they're doing. Now, Wayne T. Carr came out and actually wrote something to David Ayer, and Wayne T. Carr was going to be Green Lantern in Zack Snyder's Justice League before the studio told him no. And with the fact that they're rebooting, I have no idea why we didn't get to see that either. But he goes on, your cast and crew have mad respect for you also. A buddy of mine who worked on Fury spoke to my film class and praised you as an artist and collaborator. And David Ayer said, actors are the bravest souls I know. I could never stand in front of a camera like that. Props to these guys. Again, they got steamrolled by the studio. Here's another post I grabbed from Variety where David Ayer is making peace with his Suicide Squad never getting a release, but he would love at least one funeral screening, even just bringing the cast and crew together to show them what they actually made. That would be fair for everyone. Again, we're going to have more on that here in a few minutes. Now, this is really interesting. I told everybody, Black Adam, had it been released in China, would have made a lot more money than it did. We got shortchanged, and they're using this as a scapegoat as what changed everything. And prior to Aquaman, which Aquaman 2 still hasn't surpassed Black Adam, but it's going to. But it said, Black Adam, this is for 2023, the year that just ended, guys. Black Adam topped DVD sales in the UK for 2023 with over 80,000 units sold just in the UK. And that comes from Variety. This movie was a lot more popular, sold like crazy on physical media, had a ton of streams. And again, I've already talked about what movie didn't. All right, so Men of Steel 6, Men of Steel on Twitter, wanted me to make a correction, and I will because he is the one that actually said this. He congratulated me on making another great video, but he said there was one mistake, that Jason Winter's post that I shared in the last one was actually his. He, for some reason, stole my post instead of reposting it. Would you be willing to acknowledge it? It was mine. In your next DC update, I'd appreciate it. And yes, I will do that. I'm glad you told me. I share stuff as I find it, and I can't possibly know where everything came from. So I'm glad you came out. Absolutely, I will give you the credit for that. Again, that has to do with the Batman Joker scene, in which some people came out, and I want to talk about this for a second because some people came out and said that the Batman Joker scene in The Dark Knight was a way better scene than this. I said this was the best Batman Joker iteration ever on film, and I stand by that. Now, I love The Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is one of my top 5 superhero films ever made. But here's the thing about Christian Bale and that specific Joker. That Joker that was in The Dark Knight was not like any Joker in the comic book. That was a very unique take on that character, was not any type of iteration that I've ever seen in the comic books. It was a whole different thing. And Batman, I don't think, would ever be out in the open in a bright room like that to begin with. So that scene is very out of place. It's an amazing scene, and what makes that scene is the tension. And this shows you how great of a filmmaker Christopher Nolan is with the music by Zimmer. And that scene, it's very incredible. But that's not like any interaction that's ever been in comics, guys. This is more like a true interaction with a Joker ripped from the comics, a Batman and a Joker ripped from the comics. And that's how I look at that. I agree that that other scene is better. But if you want to look at it as a Batman-Joker moment, I would have to put this as it. So this goes back to what I mentioned in the first post with James Gunn and his list and his wish for 2024. It says, Superman Legacy will not be the only DCU project to enter production this year per James Gunn. Waller will go into production most likely this year, but will there be another? My guess is it's going to be Peacemaker 2. If they are done writing it, they're going to get close to filming it. And what's crazy about this, everything in the DCU up to this point is all James Gunn, and I brought this up. He was not hired as the writer and producer or the writer and director of everything, but that's what he's doing so far. And that's not what he was hired for. And if you ever go back and watch my videos from when he was first announced, I was taking a wait-and-see attitude. If he was going to be behind the scenes, but then when I found out he was writing, directing Superman Legacy, and you look at his past body of work for DC and how he doesn't take these things seriously. And I've told people this over and over again. He does not take DC characters seriously. And you see that again with his own comments. Yet people will not buy it, which is freaking mind-boggling. So people were able to send me more high-res versions of those characters, and I really love these. I think I may end up getting t-shirts one day made up with these characters on them. I would love to wear these out. I think they're amazing character photos. These are all really, really cool things. Yeah, I really like this one a lot too. And then you have Superman. Pretty cool stuff. Right now, IGN came out and said, we played multiple hours of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, and we did not like it. Find out why in our hands-on preview. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that they didn't like it. The fact that this game has been pushed off for so long, it looks like they're just going to throw it out there and let bygones be bygones, but I don't think a lot of people are going to enjoy this. If it's strictly an online thing, I'm not going to be playing it myself. It looks like, from the last Dark Knight game, they had opportunities to do stuff in that world, but they fumbled it, especially with, Gotham Knights. I'm going to get that game when I can get it for $10 or less. But I heard it's a lot of grinding, and it's just not in the vein of what they did with the the Arkham Knight, the Arkham Knight games, which is a shame because they had the opportunity. They just didn't. They decided not to capitalize on it. So this is interesting. This DCU Updates, where I get a lot of my stuff from. He asked James Gunn specifically, can you vaguely say what made Warner Brothers choose your Superman pitch? So many pitches have been made over the years. James Gunn said, I didn't pitch it. It was offered to me. So think about that. They offered it to him. He didn't have to do anything to get it. They just offered it to him. He goes, I just didn't say yes until I was sure I had a solid story, which remains to be seen, which I pitched to individuals around me I trusted. I would like one of those individuals to come out and start talking about this. I'm really curious as to what is going to happen in the future because I do not see any way that his movie, if he's even said he cannot take these heroes seriously, I'm afraid he is going to butcher this like you would not believe. So the last post I have here for you today, picture, comes from David Ayer. And Jay Hernandez actually played Diablo in his Suicide Squad film and has been playing Magnum P.I. for the last 6 years. Came out and said, and he's talking about Variety's post of wanting to have, making peace after seeing that, doing a funeral screening of the Suicide Squad. Jay Hernandez came out and said, if no release, at least let us see it. And David Ayer responded with, you earned that right. So again, they're trying to be gentlemen about this, but everybody's eager to see this. And if they get to see it, I really think everybody should be able to see it. All right, guys, there's just a lot of stuff going on. I had to do an urgent Star Wars video early today because Lucasfilm and Disney announced the next Star Wars movie, which is not going to be the Rey movie, as a matter of fact. They're actually going to push that down the line a little bit, I think probably because of the backlash. I think they need to get that perfect. Instead, they're going to be doing another movie. You can go check out that video. And I still have to do my TV show and movie update, which is going to be pretty big because there's a lot of stuff to talk about. So I've had to make some lengthy videos over the last couple of days. I do appreciate all the support. I'm going to continue to cover all this DC stuff, and it just amazes me that anybody can defend James Gunn at this stage. With all of his own comments, with the stuff that he's done, I just cannot understand how anybody can support this individual being the head of DC. I do not get it. Guys, stuff from his own mouth. I'm at a loss at this stage. It's crazy. He's got a lot to prove. I'm going to be definitely watching everything that comes out of Superman Legacy with like a microscope and covering it all. So, and if I ever do anything about spoilers, I really don't care about spoilers on this one. I want to know everything that I'm getting myself into before it happens. So I do appreciate all the support. I'm going to continue with all of these videos. We will see you on the next one.